How would it change the human psyche if everyone believed that the dead were living right beneath us, in the underworld? If you thought that your dead loved ones existed in some form in a vast cavern under the surface of the earth, would you try to visit them? Would predatory capitalists set up an enormously lucrative business venture where you could go to see the dead? They created a business opportunity for visiting the deeply submerged Titanic, with all of its dead, so they would inevitably be prepared to go even deeper, into the bowels of the earth. Homer believed that the land of the dead was inaccessible to the living, but nevertheless the Odyssey features this impossible journey. What are the souls of the dead like? Erwin Rohde wrote, "The souls resemble shadow, or dream pictures, and are impalpable to the human touch. You can't touch the dead. They are not physical. However, you can see them, as dreamy, spectral creatures." Rohde wrote, "They are without consciousness when they appear. The Homeric dead do not have consciousness. They are literally spectral zombies, and presumably function in the same mindless way, just moving around aimlessly, not even in search of food since they don't need any." A Homeric soul of the dead retains its consciousness until its body is destroyed, typically by cremation. This suggests that if a body were never destroyed, the soul would retain its consciousness. Is this why the Egyptians mummified the dead? Was it a way of allowing the dead to stay conscious in the afterlife? Somehow, the body was associated with consciousness, while the soul was not. The soul, while its body still existed, could partake of the consciousness associated with the body, but could not once the body was gone. This is a curious position. Consciousness was once deemed a property of physical bodies, not of the mind, soul. The mind, soul was treated as unconscious. By the time of Plato, it was the mind, soul that was conscious and the body that was inherently non-conscious. The soul inhabited the body, which was depicted as a tomb or prison of the soul, curbing its powers and potentialities. Plato inverted the entire Homeric view of the soul. Likewise, Plato contradicted the religious beliefs of ancient Egyptians, who were obsessed with the body. Plato was a reincarnationist, so did not believe that a particular body was essential to the functioning of the soul. Tying the soul to one body forever is what resurrectionism is all about. The Egyptians didn't believe in corpses coming back to life, as Abrahamists do, but did believe that the soul in the afterlife would always resemble one body and one body only. The Egyptians believed that if the body was preserved, the soul could remain conscious. The Homeric Greeks believed that if the body was destroyed, the soul would become unconscious. The Platonist Greeks believed that the soul was conscious and the body wasn't, and the soul could undergo transmigration to new bodies, reincarnation. Christians believe in a soul that remains conscious when separated from the body and even if the body is destroyed by cremation, but they also believe that the soul will one day be permanently restored to its physical body. This is what resurrection is all about. There is a fundamental problem with the Christian position. Jesus Christ was supposedly resurrected from the dead and returned to the world with a physical body that doubting Thomas made a point of touching. So, we know for a fact that Christ was physical. Yet he then ascended to heaven. But how could he if he was physical? This would imply that physical bodies can travel into the air and into space, where there is no oxygen for a body, and go to a physical heaven, where physical beings live. In which case, the Christian heaven is part of the physical world, and scientists ought to be able to detect it in the scientific universe. None of this makes any sense. Resurrection is a physicalist notion. Here's how resurrection should be properly envisaged. Imagine Christian souls as Homeric spectral doubles that go and live in the underworld, but as conscious entities. Then, God announces the general resurrection of the dead, and all of these spectral doubles are returned to their original physical bodies, which, from then on, cannot perish. Isn't it interesting the way that resurrectionists believe that perishable matter can suddenly become imperishable? That could only happen by magic. God has to ordain a change in the properties of atoms and DNA and entropy and body organs and illness and disease. Do people acquire perfect immune systems? Do they never again catch a cold? Do they cease to eat and drink and excrete? Shouldn't we be told? Resurrectionists do not like immaterialism. They don't understand it. For them, immaterialism relates to some bizarre state between the death of the physical, imperfect mortal body and its resurrection as a physical, perfect, immortal body. Physicality is the key to the system, imperfect physicality being transformed into perfect physicality. Christianity is well suited to ancient Egyptian religious thinking. Christians ought to mummify their dead, and assume that the soul hangs around the body and grave, then is reunited with the body when God brings about the general resurrection. The mummified body is reanimated and removes its wrappings and lives again. The reincarnationist worldview is totally different from this and does not place any emphasis at all on the physical world. It's all about the immaterial order. For Plato, his domain of immaterial forms was true reality. For Aristotle, it was his God of pure matterless form. Resurrectionists are a species of materialists since matter is what they revere most. They love the physical body. Reincarnationists are immaterialists. They focus on the mind, soul, not the body. Where do you stand on such things? Anywhere?